It's 9:02 in the morning. An executive sits down at his desk. By the time his coffee is warm, his AI has drafted 3 documents, queued 3 calls, and flagged the 1 contract that mattered. You opened ChatGPT and asked it to make your email shorter. So what is he actually doing differently? Is it the prompt? Is it the way he set it up? Is it just that he uses AI more than you do? The New York Fed says he probably does. Workers earning over $200,000 a year use AI at 4 times the rate of workers under 50. And Microsoft's survey of 31,000 leaders found nearly a third saving more than an hour a day. The question is whether that hour is something you can copy by typing better, or whether it's something else entirely. Because the discourse already has an answer to that question. It says, high earners are smarter about this. They figured out the asking versus doing move the rest of us are too lazy to make. They wrote the perfect prompt. They run a personal AI chief of staff. And if you'd just learn what they type into the box, you'd close the gap. The numbers seem to back it up. 66% of workers over 200,000 use AI at work. 16% under 50,000. College grads versus non-grads, same shape, 59 versus 23. 2/3 of leaders in Microsoft's survey say they're familiar with AI agents, AI that takes actions on its own, not just chats back. Only 40% of regular employees say the same. The picture is clear. They've cracked something you haven't. So I tried it. For a week, I lived like the discourse said the executive lives. I built a personal assistant prompt the way LinkedIn told me to. I triaged my inbox with Claude every morning before coffee. I stopped asking AI to draft for me and started asking it for advice instead. I optimized. I iterated. I treated the chat window like a craft. And it worked, sort of. I shaved real minutes off real tasks. The drafts came back cleaner, and the advice was more useful. The discipline was real, but the shape of my day didn't change. I was still the one opening the app, still the one typing the question, still the one reading the answer. Whatever the executive at 9:02 was getting, I wasn't getting it from being more disciplined in the chat window. But here's the catch. When I went looking for what the executive at 9:02 was actually doing, almost none of them are prompting at all. The chat window isn't where the time savings are coming from. Anthropic published the cleanest number anyone has on this. They took 1 million consumer chats from Claude.ai. They took 1 million transcripts coming through the API, the version companies plug into their own systems. Then they classified what people were doing. On the consumer side, it was roughly 50-50. Half collaboration, half delegation. But on the API side, 77% was automation. Whole tasks handed off, no human in the chat at all. And inside the United States, every 1% bump in state GDP per capita lined up with a 1.8% bump in Claude usage per capita. The wealth gradient wasn't subtle. Meanwhile, 37% of American workers don't have AI access at work in the first place. 11% work somewhere it's banned outright. So I went looking for the executive's chat history, tried to find a single person at the top of an org running the personal inbox triage agent the discourse describes. I couldn't. What I found instead were companies with API budgets running pipelines. For legal review, for sales call summarization, for contract redlining, for customer ticket routing. The rich person using AI to protect their time wasn't a person typing better questions into a box. It was a company that wrote a check for the ability to delegate the question entirely. And then there's the dark mirror nobody puts in the brochure. Stanford and BetterUp surveyed 1,150 workers. 40% had received work slop, substanceless AI output dressed up like good work in the prior month. Managers got it more than individual contributors did, 54% versus 38.5%. Each incident took about 2 hours to clean up. The discourse calls this AI-augmented workforce productivity. What it actually looks like is your boss reading work slop your colleague generated, and you trying to outprompt both of them. If the gap is access and budget, then no amount of prompt discipline closes it for you. What this costs you is the years you'll spend trying to outprompt people who aren't prompting at all, which means the entire rich people use AI smarter narrative is selling you a personal discipline answer to an infrastructure problem. If that's right, then what looks like a skill gap is a structural gap, and the working person who finally writes the perfect prompt is still going to lose ground to a pipeline they can see. So here's what they're doing differently. They didn't prompt better, they bought delegation. Or their company did. The thing protecting their time wasn't a clever question in a chat window. It was that whole tasks left their plate before they ever opened a laptop. The chat window is what you got. The pipeline is what they got. That's the answer to the question. Enterprise AI doesn't look like a chat. It looks like a contract reviewed before anyone reads it, a meeting summarized before anyone joins, a draft routed before anyone asks for it. None of that requires a better prompt. It requires a budget and a system. The asking versus doing distinction the discourse keeps repeating doesn't close the gap, because the gap was never between asking and doing. It was between typing and delegating. Anthropic's January follow-up data shows something else worth knowing. On the consumer side, automation's share has been creeping up, from 41% in January 2025 to 45% now. Individual users are slowly learning to delegate too, but they're constrained to what a single chat window can do. The executive's pipeline isn't. Once I stopped trying to build a personal chief of staff prompt, I started asking a different question. Which of my own tasks could become a pipeline instead of a chat? That's when I got real time back. Calendar triage that runs without me. Research compiled before I open the document. A summary of my own notes already waiting when I sit down. None of it lives in the chat window. The chat is where I make more work. The pipeline is where work gets taken off me. And here's the honest part. Every one of those pipelines cost money I had to spend, or required tools my employer had to provide, or took time to build that the executive doesn't have to spend either, because somebody else already built it for him. The pipeline isn't free, it's just somebody else's bill. What this changes is what you look at. The AI giving people their time back is the AI you can't see. The visible AI, the chat window someone's typing into, the prompt they're showing on LinkedIn, the productivity hack on Reddit, that's the working person version. And it mostly produces more output, not less work. The invisible AI, the pipeline running before anyone sits down to type, is the version that protects time. When somebody tells you AI is saving them hours, the question isn't what they prompted. The question is what got delegated before they opened the app. Once you can see that distinction, the entire prompt discipline discourse reads differently. It reads like advice from people on top of pipelines, telling people in chat windows that they just need to type better. Every Sunday afternoon you spend perfecting a prompt template. Somebody else's pipeline ran without them on Saturday too. You're not falling behind because you're typing wrong. You're falling behind because you're typing at all. So, if I were you, here's what I'd watch for. Every time AI shows up in a story about somebody's time or somebody's output, ask one question. Is the AI in that story something they used or something that was done for them? That one distinction tells you whether the person in the story is in the chat window or on top of the pipeline. And once you can see it, you stop trying to copy the wrong half of the picture. That executive at 9:02 in the morning, the one whose AI had drafted 3 documents, queued 3 calls, and flagged the one contract that mattered before his coffee was warm. None of it was him. He didn't type better. He didn't have the secret prompt. He had a pipeline. The chat window in front of him was the same one you opened when you asked ChatGPT to make your email shorter. The difference was everything that ran before he opened it. That's the gap. It's not in the prompt. It's in the architecture. That's the memo. Read.